Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while, and that's with Jeff Zigman, who is the business engineer. And that's not a stretch, my friends, because indeed, that is that's where his passion is, and that's exactly what he's doing. And he is the amazing founder at Skill Builder, the only training platform that enables you to train process-oriented skills to thousands of people better, virtually and remotely. So Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Jeff, I love to get to know the person behind the microphone. Tell us a little bit about how you've earned that identity of the business engineer.
Studied engineering, did years of engineering, but my professional career started, was about 10 years ago as a business analyst. And then I started getting into the tech startup realm of starting tech companies. I've done numerous ones by now. And then you slowly became a good meld between the engineering side of how my brain works and everything I do, and integrating that with business and understanding business and solving business problems, particularly through technology and predominantly through software.
Absolutely. And for those that can't tell, you've got the beautiful Canadian accent, and and you have been busy throughout this period of COVID, building this amazing training platform called Skill Builder. And I'm very passionate about what you do. So give us the behind the scenes look of what this software learning platform is and how it can benefit, of course, our amazing listeners to get down to business.
Sure. So I took not just my background in software, but also I've been doing martial arts for about 20 years. And I took the principles I learned from skill learning from martial arts and basically built them into a software platform, and been able to prove now that it's more effective in remote learning than in-person training for most things. And the thing everyone's struggling with right now under COVID is that training people remotely, and it turns out it's actually a very difficult thing to solve, because I found that it actually requires a bunch of different components that each on their own is really hard to do, but you need like 4 different components that all have to merge together perfectly in order for it to work, because there's many different obstacles to overcome, from information being disorganized to lack of clarity, to the fact that human beings aren't born knowing how to learn things, and you actually have to learn how to learn things. And you can have the best instructor in the world with the best content in the world for any skill, but if you haven't learned how to learn, then most of it's going to go in one ear out the other, and you're not going to be that much farther ahead after learning from them, which in many cases a lot of companies pour millions of dollars into trying to do employee training, and then they get very frustrated when it doesn't really stick so much.
Oh, for sure. How true is that? Absolutely. And I like to say with COVID, necessity is the mother of all invention. Certainly in schools, when you're talking about early childhood or elementary school, everybody suddenly embraced this idea of Zoom. Meetings certainly have become far more virtual, but LMS, learning management systems, became an integral part of the process. So it's on that note, Jeff, that I'm curious again about the unique value proposition of Skill Builder. I know that there's a lot of learning management systems that are out there, but tell us how Skill Builder is different and where it's been applied so far.
Sure. So the more general LMSs, the less specific it is. Not just for LMSs, anything. The more general something is, the less specific. The more specific, the less general. So the LMSs out there are made so that anyone can pick them up for whatever kind of courses they want to create, and then they can create something, which means they're not uniquely designed specifically down to the tiniest detail to work with process-oriented skill learning. So I've designed and built the entire thing down to the tiniest little detail with more than 200 iterations in order to work with this methodology of learning. So the platform itself is one of the 4 components needed for remote learning. So it's sort of, you could think of it sort of as like the transmission tool of the information. But in order to really create this remote learning, It requires that I work with someone who's an expert in the subject matter to be able to kind of extract the expertise for them. It requires this learning methodology that I worked out from the martial arts, and then you have to be able to convert that expertise broken down and rebuilt into this learning methodology, and then put that into the skill builder platform, which I designed to work with it. So kind of actually need all four of those components in order for it to work effectively. Remote
Sure.
training, that is.
And if we were having this conversation where we could provide some visuals, which unfortunately can't do over the radio and podcast waves, we'd be able to actually show your platform and how it's being used. As you have an awesome graphic of jumping over various pitfalls, which is interesting. So you just provided something personal, and I just want to pick up on that over here. You mentioned about martial arts, and I know that in our earlier conversations, you talked a little bit about how that has inspired you and has become a really integral part of your life. And I believe that's actually how you and I were introduced. So is the process of learning, ultimately, is it sort of like widgets where it could be in one industry or another industry, but the same methodology of learning is ultimately the same, or are we totally talking apples and oranges?
Yeah, so the process of learning, I would say, is universally applicable. Like different people like receiving information differently. So some people like reading, some people like watching video or hearing things. So that's the receiving of information, but everybody learns by doing. And if you're not doing, you're not actually going to learn things. And once you learn how to learn, then you can apply it, the same kind of thing in any industry, any skill, anything. So I've gotten very good at picking up new skills very quickly, provided, of course, that I have someone who I can refer to who already has the expertise and the mastery of it.
Absolutely. And again, that's why you're called the business engineer. I'm chatting with Jeff Zigman, the founder of SkillBridge, an amazing resource. The website, Skill Builder, thank you, skillbuilder.academy. And it's great. Obviously, on the website, you can go on the website and learn a lot more about how Jeff has been applying this process to help thousands of people learn better virtually in this environment. So certainly that's my next question, is for all of our entrepreneurs that are tuning in from around the world, what can they do? How can they implement something to provide this technology as well as this process in their own, perhaps small businesses?
So, okay, so let me divide that into two things. So for small businesses, this would not be suitable. This is really for, I'm working with organizations that are larger, that have many employees that they have to train. Like there's no feasible way to train thousands, tens of thousands of employees with unless you have something that can actually scale out effectively. For entrepreneurs, I think that what's really important for them is not just the picking up of new skills, but analyzing all the little details of what they're doing in all their processes that they're doing every single day, and optimizing that. That's a really important part. If you're not optimizing everything you're doing, then you'll find if you really optimize something that you're doing, that you are probably spending 2 or 3 times the amount of time that you needed to spend doing it. And if you have to repeat that many times a day, you're actually wasting minutes, many dozens of minutes, if not hours, every single day, which can add up to hundreds of hours over months easily. And that's just lost time because you didn't analyze things well. And that's actually part of the process that I go through with Skill Builder. It's really breaking down current process and trying to rebuild it in the most optimized way possible before creating a training around it, essentially.
And I can't get over that this amazing platform was developed and created over the course of COVID. So certainly silver lining in this whole pandemic thing. And if you're just tuning in, again, I've been chatting with Jeff Zigman, the business engineer, who has created this amazing platform called the Skill Builder. So Jeff, no doubt we've left a lot of people nodding their heads vigorously, understanding the need for really great training that can, as we said, enable folks to learn new skills virtually. Jeff, how can people get a hold of you and learn more, not just about Skill Builder, but also about this whole process of training? Because I know you've produced a lot of great videos on the topic.
So they can go to skillbuilder.academy. If they're interested in potentially chatting to see if it could be good fit for their company, there's a form to fill there. They can submit there, and then I'll get that directly. As far as I also have a YouTube channel, Skill Builder. There are numerous videos that are there that will give some more information, and my own personal YouTube channel where I've put additional videos where
Awesome.
I can put in a link.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on. Jeff Zigman, thank you so much for joining us. Skill Builder. We will be back after a quick break here and get down to business. Don't touch that dial.